Hello and welcome to another video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I always talk about different stories from the huge Star Trek universe. This video will be about the next episode from the TV show Star Trek The Next Generation called Home Soil. It was aired for the first time on the 22nd of February 1988, which means 30 years and 3 months ago, and these are my honest opinions about it. No, this is not an episode about soiling yourself at home. This is something better, an episode about terraforming, a topic which I was fascinated by for most of my life, so I should in theory love this one, right? Well, let's say I don't hate it. The episode doesn't waste your time and starts directly with the ship arriving to the terraforming colony on Velara 3. The colony doesn't respond to the Federation, so they got worried and asked our heroes to find out what happened. So they contact the colony, but nobody responds for a long time. After a short time, the director Kurt Mandel responds, and he is surprisingly nervous. His nervosity grows even more when Picard mentions that they want to go to their base and do a small exploration of their work, but is too afraid to say a direct no to a Federation representative, so of course an away team beams down, consisting of Riker, Tasha, Data, and Geordi. They soon meet with the scientists, 2 men, Melanson and Benson, and 1 woman, Louisa Kim. And my problems with this episode start immediately. The 2 men are behaving like complete assholes and without any good reason. However, the woman is a very friendly person. I absolutely love her enthusiasm, and after she explains what are they doing, I honestly want to join them. Come on lady, sign me up. The bad thing in this are the men. They are way too hostile, so of course the question is why, but we are never actually given a good enough answer, we're just given a answer. But then Kurt comes in, suddenly being very nice and friendly to another, and basically forces Melanson to go to the room with a laser drill. So we have a strange guy who is at first very impertinent, then suddenly changes his behavior, and then again in an angry way forces another guy into a room with a laser drill. And nobody, even Troy, thinks that there is something fishy going on. I don't have any spider senses, and I think that he's the villain. And of course, after a few minutes, Troy senses that somebody wants to kill Melanson. They all run to the room, but it's locked, and laser blasts can be heard through the door. When he stops screaming, the door opens, and our heroes can only look at his burning body. They switch off the power in the room with the drill and beam him out. Wait, what? Why did they need to first remove the power? They could beam him out of there on board directly, didn't they lose some precious time? But Data examines the laser drill, and because he is a smart android man, he asks Geordi to restore power to it. I'm sure nothing bad will happen, right? Oh well, the laser drill attempts to murder him. But fortunately for us, Data is faster than the laser, in other words, he's faster than light. Sorry, what? Now how can he dodge a blast of basically light from a very short distance? Shouldn't he be destroyed long before he actually realizes that the thing is going to shoot him, and he should dodge the pulse? Whatever. He won and destroyed the laser drill, and we find out that according to his observation, it didn't look like the drill operated by a program, but it looked more like somebody was controlling it. I really don't see how a laser following a target is a proof that it wasn't programmed, but again, let's ignore illogical things in this episode. So because Data thinks that the drill wasn't programmed but controlled by somebody, and Picard trusts Data's judgment, he calls Mandel to his ready room and asks him if he reprogrammed the drill. I guess that it should make sense. When Mandel behaves like it's the most insulting thing anybody accused him of and leaves, Picard gives the order to his crew to check if he has the knowledge to reprogram the drill. Well, I guess he deserves the mistrust for acting like a Disney villain for the first 10 minutes of this episode, right? Anyway, Data and Geordi beam back to the station and try to find out what could be the reason for the strange behavior. When they find a thing, it kinda looks like a snowflake and it blinks, and Data thinks it's alive. Geordi disagrees with him because that thing is not organic and there is no such thing as an organic life, and they take the thing on board. Picard, Geordi, Data, and both of the Crushers examine the thing under the fancy microscope, and they also start to consider the possibility that it's alive. Commander Riker goes to the female scientist because she is the female guest star on this episode, and he was taking place of Captain Kirk in this series, and they say strange things which sound like they have dual meaning, and in the famous blooper reel, which you have probably seen, they edited the dialogue in such a way that it sounds like they are talking about Riker's dick. But otherwise than that, this scene is absolutely pointless. She is crying for some reason. When the scene started, I thought she's crying for her dead colleague. I mean, he was treated by Dr. Crusher, of course he died, but she didn't even address him, and in the end of the scene it looks like she's crying because they almost destroyed something which might be a life form. I'm not sure, and to be honest, I don't really care. This scene is absolutely pointless. Picard left sickbay where he was looking at the thing, only to go to the bridge where he looked at the thing, only to get back to sickbay to take a look at the thing. So why did he leave sickbay again? To be honest, I see no reason why the sickbay scene was split into two parts. Back on sickbay, a huge flash happens, and the little thing has split into two. So it's definitely alive, and it appears to have some intelligence. First, it destroys the force field, which for some reason our heroes only now raised, and tries to contact the computer's language banks with a request for translation. Our main heroes and the scientific guest stars meet in the observation lounge, where we are informed about the reason Mel Sloan was killed. When they arrived on the planet, they found strange crystallic entities, but ignored them. They never thought that it could be a form of life, because several Federation scientists confirmed there is no life on the planet. But for some reason, they ignored it even when the crystals started to change formation. I don't know, but if I've seen rocks around my house started to change formations by themselves, it definitely would pique my interest. I wouldn't simply say to myself that nothing is happening. But they started to drain the salt waters, and it looks like the salt water is the stuff which connects all of the crystals, and they make up one huge brain, or something. I don't really know, and it's not really that important. The only important thing is that draining the salt water is killing the crystalline creatures. Therefore, when Melanson started to drain it, they thought it's necessary to defend themselves and killed him. Data, Geordi, and Worf examine the creature, but Riker is called to the engine room by a strange white-haired lady. Who is she? I have no clue. And why is her hair white? She doesn't seem that old. Has she seen a ghost? And a disclaimer, that was a joke, maybe a bad joke, but I am 37 and my beard is white already, and I start finding more grey hair on my head every week. But this woman is fascinating to me. I don't think we have seen her before. She doesn't have a name, or at least it's not mentioned. She acts very strangely, and after this scene disappears and is never referenced again. And honestly, the actress looks like she has no idea what she's doing. Then we see footage from the sickbay, and they show the footage on the huge panel with the Enterprise. What? That's a monitor? I always thought that it's just a backlit panel. I mean, of course, in real life it is a backlit panel, but I thought that even in the show it's just a backlit panel which shows the graphic of the Enterprise D, because never before, and if I remember correctly, never again was it used as a computer screen. I checked the director, and this episode was directed by Corey Allen, and he should know TNG. He directed the pilot. The crystal creature divides itself even more, and now is so intelligent that it is able to speak to the humans and declares them war because of genocide. The creature starts to cause even bigger problems on the Enterprise, shakes it a bit, but when Picard orders it to be beamed down to its home planet, the creature suddenly controls the transporter too. So now Picard has a much bigger problem. A strange creature declared war on humanity, and they can't fight it using conventional methods. So what do? Meanwhile, the things have multiplied so much that they now form one big crystal, and Data, Geordi and Worf come up with a plan based on their previous exploration. The creature is photosensitive, so Riker manually dims the lights on sickbay, and the creature is slowly dying. Well, that has to be the shortest war in the history of mankind, isn't it? When the crystal is dying, it suddenly is willing to give up and let them beam itself back to the planet in exchange for a bit more light. They turn up the lights and, to be honest, I expected that this is a trap, that immediately after the lights go up, the creature will cause even more mayhem than before, but no, it was indeed the shortest war in the history of mankind. They beam the thing off the ship and case closed. A bit anticlimactic, to be perfectly honest, but okay. Well, what to say about this episode? I really like the terraforming aspect of it. The possibility of altering a planet to your own needs is one of the things I was always fascinated by. Yeah, I'm a big fat nerd, so I know. But I fully can identify with the woman, and for me she was the hero of this episode. At least she was in the beginning, but they did nothing with her. Now that I think about it, all of the scientists had nothing to do in this episode after they beamed to the Enterprise. They were the stars during the few minutes we spent on the station, but then became absolutely pointless after we switched location. They were just standing around or sitting in the conference room and saying the same stuff over and over again. This episode contains a huge amount of, in my opinion, completely illogical decisions by our lead characters, which definitely doesn't help the overall impression of the story. And what's with the fake villain? Mendel behaves like the big villain in the teaser and the first act, but then we find out that he was absolutely pointless to the story overall. Why did they build him up as the villain? Was he the villain in some very early version of the script? The story was apparently the last story heavily rewritten by Roddenberry, so it wouldn't surprise me. And one final note which I found out as I'm writing this quote-unquote script. The actress who played the female engineer is Caroline Berry. This was her second Star Trek role. The first one was the role of the Metron in the original series episode Arena. Just a little fun fact. I might not sound like I was very impressed by this episode, but the truth is I think it's really enjoyable, especially if you compare it to the standard set by the previous first season episodes. I mean, if you compare it to such episodes like Angel One or Code of Honor, it feels like a masterpiece. So what numerical rating would I give it? Well, on my standard scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 5 is average, and 10 is a masterpiece, I would give this episode 6 out of 10. I originally was thinking about a 7, but there are way too many illogical things in this one for my liking. But still, it's an above average enjoyable episode, especially if you like things like inorganic life or terraforming. But as always, those were just my opinions. Let me know what do you think about this episode down in the comment section. If you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button, and if you have some free time, feel free to watch any of the other videos on my channel. You should see some links on screen right now. Thank you very much for watching, and see you pretty soon with another one of my videos. Until then, bye.